Technology plays a major role in the education of students at NACL. In 2010, NACL Superintendent Dr. Rick Pass began a targeted emphasis on infusing technology into all aspects of the educational process. Dr. Pass refers to this emphasis as the shift.
Well, the shift in NACL schools, to me, there's a shift going on not only in our school, but in the United States and the world today. And that shift, things are changing. Kids, when you and I were growing up, the things that we did for entertainment, how we may have learned in school is a lot different than it is now.
The iPad makes school a lot more exciting.
What I found, specifically for math classes, is that the touch screen capability of the iPad makes all the difference.
When I found out the freshmen were getting iPads, I was very excited.
Trying to bring some of the technology into the classroom, having our administration, having everybody use this because it's so commonplace in pretty much everything that we do.
Our class is learning how to use the technology in our world that's new to everybody.
Using the iPad motivates the kids. They like doing their homework on the iPad and they find it fun.
It's just so futuristic. Like, people a few years back wouldn't have thought of anything like this, doing school on the iPad. It just expands ideas on how and what to use with technology.
I like having all the kids in my class with an iPad, for one, because it levels the playing field. There aren't the haves and the have-nots, so to speak. Everyone has the iPad. Everyone is able to learn the technology and utilize the technology. I think that makes a big difference.
When I first found out the freshmen were getting iPads, I was just excited. I didn't really know what else to think because I didn't know much about them, but I was excited. It's an amazing piece of technology that allows students to work more quickly and efficiently and to stay on top of their grades. There's no need for the paper.
Algebra 1 at NACL High School is completely paperless. The kids do all of their assignments on the iPad. They turn in their assignments digitally. It literally replaces paper.
I was excited because I could do my work on the iPad for math and not have to do it on paper.
We place the paper in most of our classes, but mostly in algebra.
The kids find doing their work on the iPad more enjoyable. You know, if you can enjoy homework, they do.
Doing my math assignment on an iPad and not on paper I think it goes faster. It's just a lot easier.
All our assignment is done on Note-Taker HD, which gives you unlimited virtual paper.
Anything they can do on a piece of paper and more, they can do on their iPad.
Note-Taker is replacing paper because you can change the color of your ink or your writing that you're using with your finger. You can erase things a lot quicker than having to make sure what you're erasing. You just know automatically that you want to erase this or undo that. And you can change the types of paper you use, like graph paper or line paper, and even what color the paper is.
It has a lot more options than we use when we have paper. Say, if you want to graph something, we don't have to go searching through the classroom for graph paper. We could just go into tools and change our background to graph paper. And if we wanted it in a different color, like instead of white, we could have yellow, we could just change the color of the background.
The iPad is very useful for keeping things organized.
Students having iPads has impacted their learning. One, because they're more organized. They'll admit that they're more organized. And when students are more organized, they're ready to learn.
The iPad helps me be more organized because I can have one thing, not more than one paper, and it's easier to keep track of. And you can have folders to keep everything in.
It helps us organize our assignments easier. Like, we don't lose assignments as often as we used to. Like, we can't just say, oh, I lost my assignment because it fell on my binder.
You have everything right there. You don't have one assignment in this binder, one assignment in this binder for each class. you just have it for every assignment for every class in one spot, and you can just search your iPad for it, and it'll be right there.
We can't even say the dog ate my homework anymore.
Everything that they do, from their notes to their assignments, their email, everything's in the same place.
It's hooked up with our email, so we can upload like our math assignments, for example, into GoodReader, and then they'll be saved through the internet. So if our iPad all of a sudden crashes, or our note taker app, or for any reason, they're saved on the internet. So we can just have them wherever we go.
You can turn in assignments much easier. You can turn them in on your own time. And if you're sick, you can email your teachers for your homework. And even for notes on the lesson if you don't get the lesson.
Communication. I'll have students send me an email saying, Ms. Jinher, I'm sick at home today. Can you send me the notes from class? Well, I teach on the iPad using a document camera, so everything that I write down during math lecture can immediately be put into a PDF, and I can email that to my students.
With so much information out in the world and so easy ways to access that, for example, through the computer, the internet, through the iPad, we have to release those powers and let the student take the power over their own learning.
Going on the iPad for school makes school more fun because we can go on the internet and look things up.
Pretty much our infinite dictionary for English. Like, we could just go to Wikipedia, look up anything we want, and it's there. We can also go to Google, look up stuff on different sites, look up short stories. We can basically look up anything on the iPad that we couldn't find in a dictionary ever.
I think the iPad impacts students' grades by being more fun. People would want to do it more.
And on the bus, on the way home, or on the way to school, I have a very long bus ride, and I will use a piano app and practice my keyboard parts for band.
The motivation factor, kids being able to use technology with algebra, impacts their learning. They like doing the work, they like utilizing the technology, it's fun to them, and you know, I've found that they're more apt to learn algebra because they get to use the iPad to do algebra.
Using the iPad in school makes everything a lot easier to concentrate. I don't know if it's just because teens are used to using books, but using the iPad, it makes everything a lot more interesting and actually a lot easier to do.
I think it is more fun to use the iPads because it allows you to learn something new. To get on the iPad is more fun in class.
In our math classes in the high school, I've seen it in our science classes, I've seen what it's doing in our kindergarten classes.
They're ideal for kindergarten because the students intuitively touch the screen of the computer, and it's always been a little bit difficult for them to learn how to master a mouse, and there's less, it's just very intuitive for them.
The teacher has a critical role in the classroom. I think that the most powerful thing that we can do in a classroom, that we can do as administrator, is lead by example. And if a teacher is grabbing and embracing technology, I think it becomes very natural for them to use them in the classroom.
I just see doing more and more using technology, still doing things the old-fashioned way as well, but using technology can save so much time in the classroom and engages the students where they are. They're learning at their level, and they can self-guide themselves on the iPads. They can choose, I choose what goes on the iPad as far as which applications they have to choose from, but they get to choose the actual activity. So some kids need to work on their basic ABCs, and some kids are writing stories. For teachers, time is crucial. It all comes down to time and having enough time and not wasting time. And for me, it's eliminated so much time passing out manipulatives. It's much easier than any other technology that I've used in the classroom.
I think one thing I would tell teachers is that, when you utilize technology in class, when your classroom is tech enriched, students of today are going to jump on the technology and utilize it.
These kids are what they're called digital natives, and they really truly are.
One of the things that I think that all of us who have used technology in classroom are seeing is students actually know more than what we may think that we know, and so it's actually releasing some of that power to be as a teacher and become more a facilitator.
They're going to become experts in what they're doing, and a lot of times they'll know more than the teacher. And I think that's something that that we as teachers have to let go of.
If I had to say one thing to students and teachers, to administrators across the world, I would say this: teach a student to use technology and know how to use the internet, and they can change the world.